Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to full lockdown mode on the helicarrier. Get ready to secure your war rooms. We are talking about the top 8 war defensive teams in all of Marvel Strike Force for fall of 2020. And some top secret information. We're talking about their counters as well. So if you're ready for all of that, find that like button and you know what to do. Let's go defend!
ValleyFlyin.
Hello, Valley Maniacs. Welcome back to the ValleyFlyin channel. I am ValleyFlyin, and I hope you are ready for the top 8 war defensive teams in all of Marvel Strike Force fall of 2020 edition. Now, this list has been expanded. If you watch any of these previous lists before, I want to thank you. But we're expanding it because there's not 5 teams. We used to do a top 5. There's 8 teams that you need on war defense. So we're going to talk about, in my opinion, what are the best. We're going to count these down from 8 all the way to 1, and we're not going to go with too many crazy hybrid teams. I know a lot of people are using Coulson with the Avengers, with Inhumans, and just combining a lot of different teams that were once good and making them even better. We're not going to talk about those just so it doesn't get too complicated, but we're going to talk about these pre-made teams, the top 8. So if you're ready for it, guys, let's start off with number 8.
Number 8.
All right, and coming in at number 8 is the Wave 1 Avengers. And there's a lot of great teams that could have been in this spot. A lot of great honorable mentions. One that I really had in this spot right up to the end was that Technerva team, because they're very tricky. And if you sleep on them a little, they can beat you. But I gave the Wave 1 Avengers that slight nod over Technerva because they have war bonuses. Now, they're not war defense bonuses. They're not war offense bonuses. They're just war bonuses. And it makes this team very, very tricky, especially if you don't have Captain Marvel in this spot. If you have Thor in this spot, I think that makes this the most tricky version of this team. But Captain Marvel, also very good. I'm using Shield Trooper in this spot right now, and some people are using that previously mentioned Coulson and that hybrid team in this spot as well. But you have a lot of great synergy for war defense, specifically with Captain America and Hulk flipping that taunt back and forth between each other. Black Widow, Hawkeye also have a lot of great synergy. Now, if you're looking how to counter this team, guys, let's go take a look at some of the counters that work very effectively if you're facing a Wave 1 Avengers team. All right, so as we look at this, strong counters, just like Technerva, is going to be the power armor, but you're not able to punch up as much against the Wave 1 Avengers as you will with the Technerva team. So again, slight nod going to this Wave 1 Avengers. Fantastic Four also works very well against this team with a lot of confidence between both of these characters. And before I forget, shout out to the folks at msup.gg. All of these graphics for these counters and these team synergies is on that as part of the msf.gg, either the bot or their website. So shout out to those guys. X-Force, they counter most of the teams on this list, and this is no exception as well. So Supernatural, X-Force, and then the original, well, the newer version of the X-Men, no hybrid team, but we got Beast in there, and we got a little smaller punch up with the Brotherhood 2.0 with that Blob and Toad, and right below that you can't really see is the Inhuman. So a lot of options here, but yes, this is a very strong team and can be very, very tricky, especially if your opponents misjudge. Even if they misplay one of these counter teams, they can be in a rough spot, and you may be getting a defensive win from these Wave 1 Avengers, ladies and gentlemen.
Number 7.
All right, and coming in at number 7, ladies and gentlemen, is this Colossus Fury Shield team. Now, I know a lot of people are splitting this team up nowadays, but even without the split up, they are still very tricky. Now, there's a lot more counters than they were when this team first came out, but still very tricky, especially if you're going with the wrong team, don't have the right counter for this team. This team poses a lot of problems. Coulson is a beast. Shield Medic brings Coulson back to life, brings him back from Tahiti every time she does her heal. Nick Fury, always a problem with his summons, defense ups, shield security with that automatic taunt, and assault, giving a lot of extra crit chance, which means more turn meter rewind for this team and can pose some problems for all of your opponents, except if they have these counters. So let's go take a look at the counters for this Shield Colossus Fury team, and boom. Now, X-Men is rated as the number 1 punch up with the most confidence, but I think the most common is this team right here, the Brotherhood 2.0, with Toad. Now, I a lot of times use Sabretooth because I put Blob on defense with that Marauders team, makes it a slightly stronger, and Sabretooth is still able to do a lot of punch-ups. I think a lot of the damage that this counter does is with Toad and getting all of the deflects off, getting off some of these immunities off so that they can get blinded by Magneto. X-Men work very well. Another version of the X-Men also works very well. And then we have some not as strong counters. They still are able to punch up, but there's some RNG involved with this team. And taking a look at this Hydra 2.0 with Zemo, I think Zemo is kind of a one-man army. Could take a lot of teams, especially non-synergized meta teams, just by himself, and the other three doesn't matter. Here we go. X-Force again, another hard counter to one of these meta teams. Black Order, we see these below the Inhumans. Big punch up possible with the Black Order, but I'm not sure if this is the best team to use this on. Black Order can punch up against some pretty beefy meta teams, and seems like a waste on shield. We also have the Inhumans right here, so a lot of different counters to shield, but still very tough, and can be very tricky if your opponent underestimates this team.
Number 6.
All right, and coming in at this number 6 spot is the Asgardians, one of the scariest war defense teams when they first came out. Still, they have some counters now, some very strong hard counters, but if you're going with the wrong team, if you don't want to bring one of these counter teams, this team can tear you apart. We got Loki with his mind control and his stealth. His passive is very, very tricky, and even if you go in with some of these counter teams, if you get some bad RNG, you could be in a long day because of all the stealth that Loki provides. Hela and Greg and that big Death Knives move, spreading all the debuffs across all the enemies, can just really screw up a team. Thor, very, very strong with his big AoE attacks, also does that on that previously mentioned Wave 1 Avengers, which makes him very scary on either team. And Sif is there with her taunting and Heimdall to remove any blinds, so it makes it very tough for the Brotherhood to counter this team, but very, very strong still. But like I said, there are some hard counters, so let's go take a look at those. Black Order is at the top of this list. This is not a team that I would recommend because Black Order, you probably want to save them for some teams with less hard counters, but they work very well, give you some huge punch ups. Aimtron, that's a hybrid team that could counter this team very well with the 18% punch up. There is still some RNG with this team as well, though. If Scientist Supreme dies early, it could be very, very rough. X-Men, the full X-Men team with Beast, Cyclops, Storm, Phoenix, and Colossus is able to counter this team as well. X-Force, there they are again, guys. They're countering pretty much everything. And the Symbiotes. Now, this is a partial symbiote team, not a full symbiote team. Now, with this full symbiote team, you can punch up pretty big just attacking Greg, but there's still some RNG. If Scream dies early, you could get stuck in this endless Greg loop and could be very, very tricky to get out of. And then we see more hybrids here with the Fantastic Fortron, I guess. So a lot of different ways to counter this team now. Some of them involve Ultron, but still, you got to be careful of this team, and you got to play this team right, and you got to cross your fingers that you don't get RNG'd out of this team.
Number 5.
All right, and coming in at that number 5 spot, again, ladies and gentlemen, is that Hydra team with Red Skull. Very, very tricky team. Now, there are some hard counters that could punch up pretty big against this team, but if you're not using one of those hard counters, this team can wreck you, especially with all the charges that Red Skull has, bringing the rest of the minions, the Hydra minions, back to life. Very, very strong, but like I said, there are some hard counters now. If you're not using one of these, you can be in some big trouble going against this Hydra Red Skull team. All right, and against this Hydra team, there are some pretty big punch-ups you could do with the hard counters to this team right now. The first, and probably the best, is Black Bolt, and that's probably the reason that we're not seeing a lot of 400, 500, 600k Hydra teams, because Black Bolt does so well against this entire Hydra team. It's almost like his kit was made to counter this entire Hydra defense squad. So Inhumans counter them. A hybrid Inhumans with Ultron is able to punch up a little more. And then we got Zemo. Zemo counters this team very, very well. His kit seems like it was designed specifically to counter this team on war defense, and he does that so well, ladies and gentlemen. You could put in some random 4 characters and still have a good chance to punch up against this Hydra 1.0 team, or Red Skull Hydra, however you want to call it. And then we have the Black Order. Black Order pretty much counters everyone, but again, like some of these other teams, not sure if you want to use Black Order to counter Hydra when there's so many other options available to counter this team. So still very, very tricky, especially if you don't go in with one of these counters. If you look, there's only pretty much 3 counters: the Inhumans, the Zemo, and the Black Order. This is kind of a hybrid Inhumans, so I'm not counting that. But if you don't go in one of these teams, you could be in trouble, ladies and gentlemen.
Number 4.
All right, and coming in at number 4 is this tricky Merc team, and this is where we start to get into some RNG-ness, where even if you go in with the right counter, you still could get kind of screwed against this team. So we got a full Merc team here. Now, I do got to mention the hybrid version of this team with Shuri and Killmonger instead of Bullseye, instead of Merc Sniper. I think that is the best version of this team. But for this video, the purpose of this video, we're going with a full Merc team that don't really have homes on other teams. And Taskmaster, Lieutenant, Merc, Riot Guard are the basis of this team. You could pretty much put in any Merc and even a non-Merc like Shuri and make this team very, very strong. A lot of synergy with each other and very, very fast as well. There's a lot of teams which you go into against the Mercs and you could get your whole team wiped out before you even take a turn, unless you use one of these counters. So let's take a look at these counters. I think the best counter for this team right now is this X-Force team. X-Force used pretty much in all these counters right now. Punch up about 6%, and the base and the real power on this team is Negasonic and X-23. There's a lot of battles I go in with the Mercs, and if Negasonic does her ultimate, enough people drop into the yellow. X-23 goes, ability blocks Taskmaster, and then does her ultimate. Could be game over with just these two, but you need the other X-Force members so that Negasonic can get that speed to do that ult early enough and avoid some of the problems that this Merc team can counter, pose to you. Another counter that can punch up even bigger is the Black Order, and again, I'm not sure if you want to use that Black Order to beat the Mercs, unless this is a very beefy Merc team and you're going very early on. It could be wise to save them for another team and another one of these top war defense teams. Aimtron also has that counter there. X-Men, there is Zemo again with another counter, and then we got a Doc Ock Sinister 6, who I end up using a lot though if I don't have a X-Force team available, is a Supernatural team. Now, as you can see here, you need to punch down a lot, about 16% with a Supernatural team, but that is a good option if you're not seeing a crazy high, crazy built Merc team. And then Brotherhood kind of works well as well, but you're going to need some big punch down and some good RNG there as well. So a couple different options here. You can see the counters and the confidence in them, and hopefully it helps you beat Mercs when you're facing them on defense, but they are very tricky and like I said, can still pose some problems even if you go in with the right team.
Number 3.
On the latest legendary character coming in at number 3 on this list, it is Doc Ock and the rest of the Sinister Six. Now, like the Wave 1 Avengers, they have war bonuses. Not war defense, not war offense, just bonuses for war, which means that this is a great team on offense as well. But on defense, this poses a lot of problems, especially with a strong and beefy Dr. Octopus summoning a character. He has a lot. You cannot offense down this team when Dr. Octopus is on the field, and a big AoE coming from him on turn 2. Electro, Swarm, the 2 chargeable characters. I think this is the best version of this team. And then rounding out the spot is Rhino for that protection, and Mysterio. This guy can hit very hard if you build him up, and he's calling a lot of assists as well. So the stronger your Electro is, the stronger your Swarm is, the stronger your Rhino is, and the stronger your Doc Ock is, the better Mysterio gets. Let's take a look at their counters though, because it can get kind of tricky. And there are not many reliable counters to this Sinister Six Doc Ock team, which is why they are on the number 3 spot on the list. The only reason they're number 3 and not number 2 is not everybody is using them on war defense. Some people use them on offense, which is the good and bad about these bonuses, but very, very tricky. And the only reliable team, as we see here, is the X-Force, punching up about 9%. Everyone else has very low confidence. Even the symbiotes. Symbiotes are able to take them out. Not punching up a lot, but it can get very tricky, especially if you're facing a very beefy Dr. Octopus with a lot of T4s in him. And then we see the Black Order with a big 16% punch out, but very, very low confidence, and a lot of that has to do with the timing of the flip for Thanos, as does most Black Order battles that you're using. But the flip really matters in this battle because Doc Ock can get very, very tricky, and he can clear a lot of those positive effects as well off the team with his big AoE coming on turn 2. We also see some not as reliable counters. You got to punch down a little bit to make this team work. But yes, not a lot of counters with Doc Ock, so good luck facing these guys if you're on offense. And yes, defense, hopefully they hold strong for you.
Number 2.
All right, and the Emma Marauders coming in at the number 2 spot. This team was a decent war defense team before Emma came to the game, but she put them over the top and posing a lot of problems for teams that are trying to counter this. There's not a lot of counter teams that don't involve Ultron hybrids. When we take those out, there's not a lot of counters this team that are very reliable. But a lot of problems from Emma Frost, permanently reducing the speed of the enemies. We got a clone coming from Mr. Sinister. A lot of times he'll clone the wrong opponent, but if he clones the right one, could be in trouble trying to attack this team. And Strife, he is very, very beefy. You got to get around him before for most of these battles, for most of these counters to work. So Strife, Emma Frost, Mr. Sinister, very, very important for this whole team. Mystique has some good synergy. And like I said, with that Brotherhood counter, I like running Blob in this spot, and it doesn't really weaken my Brotherhood 2.0 when I'm trying to counter the Shield, Colossus Fury team. But let's take a look at some of their counters. And as you can see, guys, the top 2 counters have Ultron. We got the Fantastic Fortron if you're not using them on war defense. We have Power Armortron, Patron is what they're called, and they can pose some problems as well. But with these teams, you need to get Strife out of the way. The Black Order, they could counter pretty much everyone, but you need to time that Thanos flip like we mentioned for them to work. And then the X-Force is another non-Ultron team that could counter them, but confidence is a little lower with this team. We also have Ultron versions of the Inhumans, Ultron versions of the X-Men, and Ultron version of the Wave 1 Avengers that can punch up against this team. But as you can see, the confidence goes lower and lower and lower, and RNG gets more and more involved, especially if Sinister clones the right opponent. So this team could pose some problems. There are some counters to it. The counter list is growing for this team, but still very, very strong and can screw you up if you go into the wrong team or if the RNG gods are not in your favor.
Number 1.
All right. And number 1 war defense team in all of Marvel Strike Force for fall of 2020 are these guys, the Black Order. And I don't think it's any surprise. This is another team like the Sinister Six, like the Wave 1 Avengers, that is very good on offense or defense in war. They're very tough to get around and not a lot of counters. There's only a couple counters that are very reliable that don't involve Ultron. But yes, let's go take a look at them because this team is a problem. I think you guys know about the Black Order as well. Thanos, Maw, Cull Obsidian, just controlling the enemies and then damage provided by Proxima, Corvus, and Thanos provides a lot of damage as well, and the counterattacks from Cull Obsidian. So a lot of problems with this team, especially if you don't time the flip right, if you can't get rid of Cull, if you can't get rid of Maw. There's so many things that could go wrong against this team. But let's take a look at some counters. And the best counter to the Black Order is a Black Order mirror match. Again, the flip of Thanos is very, very important in this battle. We have some hybrid teams, and we have some hybrid teams that aren't mentioned here. The X-Men Tron, the Inhuman Tron, there's a Defender Tron that's supposed to work against them. There's a few other hybrid teams, but when we're talking about non-hybrid teams, Black Order, and then a very low confidence in having that chargeable Sinister Six team against this Black Order team. I have not used this team myself because the Black Orders I face are very strong, way stronger than my Sinister Six. But yeah, that's it. That is it for the strong, highly confident counters. So I would recommend saving Black Order just in case your opponent is using Black Order. If most people are using them on offense, but if you run across one of these on defense, especially if they're in that 600, 700K range, very, very tough. All right, and before we go, guys, I do want to mention a couple teams that didn't quite make the top 8 teams, but can be very tricky if you're facing them in war defense. And if you get some bad RNG, these teams can screw you up. The first is Technerva team. And that is, if you're not familiar with Technerva, Star-Lord, Rocket, Minerva, Groot, Vision. That could screw up a team very quickly. You could have some bad RNG, and even if you use the right counter, that can screw you up. And the second team I want to mention is a She-Hulk version of the Fantastic Four. I still like using them on offense, and I think a lot of people are using them on offense, but yeah, if you see this team on defense, they can provide some trickiness. I think the best counter is the Fantastic Four with Namor countering them, but yeah, it can be a little tricky as well. So if you don't have any of these top 8 teams, those are a couple options for you as well. Also want to mention the Young Avengers, because they can be very tricky, especially if you have Captain Marvel on that team. They have a lot of good synergy. They have some healing with Squirrel Girl, debuff removal with Squirrel Girl, damage, a lot of tricky things that all 3 of these teams do, guys. So let me know what you thought of this list. Should one of these honorable mention teams be on this top 8 list? Let me know your thoughts, guys. And if you have a totally different list, let me know in the comments. Let me see your top 8. I will see you guys next time. We're going to do top 8 war offense teams coming up later this week. Probably be pushing that one back to Friday because of Thanksgiving. I hope you guys are having a great week. I hope you guys have a lot to be thankful for. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, smash that like button, tune into Twitch in the mornings for the Valley Club, guys. Always looking forward to see you guys there. And I will see you guys next time. Hulk fist bump, ValleyFlyin, out.